But data alone doesn't fix a leak. Whether this technology becomes real conservation depends on what happens after an alert goes out. And more accurate meters may also mean higher bills for some customers. Lawmakers here talk about teamwork, trust, and relationships. But the real test comes after the game, when the same Democrats and Republicans walk back into a Congress defined by sharp disagreement. As America celebrates its 250th birthday, the Great American State Fair has become a test of unity, identity, and politics. For EV drivers in Arizona, especially those in rural communities, the success of NEVI implementation depends on whether chargers are installed where they are needed and how soon. In Washington, I'm Will Mahan, Cronkite News. As AI becomes more common in healthcare, the debate is no longer whether the technology will be used, but how much responsibility it should have. From Washington, I'm Will Mahan. President Trump's imprint can be seen across D.C., politically and culturally, but that may be changing. Last Friday, a federal judge gave the Kennedy Center 2 weeks to scrape the Trump name off the marble and from the website, tickets, signs, and parking shuttles.
It's very unusual for a living president to attempt to name buildings and really alter the commemorative landscape to the extent that we're currently seeing.
But the Kennedy Center is just one part of a much larger pattern of rebranding. Huge banners with Trump's image hang on the Departments of Justice and Labor. For resurfacing at the reflecting pool, where Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Have a Dream speech, Trump picked a deep blue that isn't going over well with everyone.
I thought it was fantastic how it was, maybe, not the deep, perfect blue that you might imagine, but it's the reflecting pool. I'm not looking for it to look like, the waters in Cancun. I'm looking for it to look like a piece of American history.
Other visitors, though, say Trump has brought long overdue updates to D.C.
I like it. It's going to look much better than what it used to.
But the debate isn't just about aesthetics. It's also about politics and symbolism and whether Trump has overstepped his mandate.
The president is changing a lot of things. I think it's good to, do the respect, maintenance in everything.
That sentiment extends well beyond the National Mall. Preservationists are furious at Trump for tearing down the historic East Wing of the White House.
As a historian, and especially as a historian who works with material culture, I am concerned because much of what we're currently seeing is an altering of the commemorative landscape.
The fight over the visual landscape of our capital is dividing the nation ahead of its 250th birthday. In court, over the Trump Kennedy Center rebranding, and in Congress, over the $1 billion needed for a new White House ballroom. For Cronkite News, I'm Will Mahan in Washington. At Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, researchers use an ultrasound scan of my arm to project my muscles, bones, and other anatomical structures into an AR headset.
And now if you wiggle your fingers.
What we'd really be using this for is looking at areas that might have undergone trauma, have internal bleeding, or potentially a collapsed lung in your thorax.
The system combines AI and augmented reality. Researchers say the goal isn't to replace doctors. It's to help them deliver care in places where specialists might not be available. But many fear losing access to their doctor. Researchers at APL know that's a concern.
I think that's really the only way to safely deploy AI in the health space is with humans in the loop and with experts in the loop.
But some lawmakers envision a much larger role for artificial intelligence in healthcare. Arizona Congressman David Schweikert sees AI as a way to address rising costs.
We're going to have to adopt technology to lower the cost of delivering healthcare and increase accessibility to everyone.
Schweikert's Healthy Technology Act
would allow artificial intelligence and machine learning systems to prescribe some medications with FDA approval. The proposal has drawn sharp criticism from doctors. The American College of Physicians has warned Congress that letting AI prescribe drugs could put patients at risk.
Unfortunately, this bill really puts the cart before the horse in any number of ways. What ACP wants to see before we even entertain a bill like this would be more research, more transparency, and a regulatory framework that is able to keep up with evolving technology.
Schweikert says concerns are greatly exaggerated.
Before COVID, the same group said no one's going to use telehealth. Turns out grandma could work telehealth just fine.
But some AI policy experts say that the comparison is misguided.
I think that's kind of comparable to comparing driving a Prius to driving like a NASCAR.
As AI becomes more common in healthcare, the debate is no longer whether the technology will be used, but how much responsibility it should have. From Washington, I'm Will Mahan. Before a student opens a book or steps into a classroom, a school has to have enough qualified teachers in the building. Randy Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers, argues that voucher programs like Arizona's Empowerment Scholarship accounts takes money from public K-12 schools.
The single most important thing we have to do is fix the finance formula and actually deal with universal vouchers, which are basically destroying what were amazing schools.
Supporters say vouchers expand parental choice. The ESA program serves over 100,000 students and costs taxpayers $1.1 billion annually. In Maryland, where retention rates are much better, the pay is also much better. Maryland is ranked 7th in teacher pay, while Arizona is 31st. Governor Wes Moore, a Democrat who opposes vouchers, says retention is determined by several factors, including salary and workplace culture.
Part of the reason that we've been able to now cut the teacher vacancy rate in Maryland by nearly 60% since I've been the governor is because you're saying there is no one solution, but you've got to focus on the entire experience of our educators.
Arizona's Educator Recruitment and Retention Survey from the fall of 2025 uncovered chronic shortages, with nearly 1,400 positions remaining vacant and thousands more filled by long-term substitutes. In Washington, I'm Will Mahan, Cronkite News. At the American Waterworks Association Conference and Expo, this demo shows how a computer can flag a toilet leak before it wastes thousands of dollars of water. Representatives from Itron, the multi-billion-dollar company behind the technology, say the system can spot unusual activity and use the cellular network to alert the local utility.
If that never goes to zero, it's indicative of a customer-side leak. And so we monitor that continuously, and after 2 days of continuous flow, we send a red flag up through the system notifying that there's a problem.
This technology is known as advanced metering infrastructure. In Arizona, Tucson Water, the main water utility serving the Tucson area, is replacing traditional meters with AMI.
Traditionally, Tucson Water would get one monthly read of total consumption over that past 30 days of the month. As we move to 15-minute interval data, you now have the insight that's happening real time throughout the month.
The city-wide rollout is part of a 3-year effort to put smart meters in over 250,000 homes, businesses, and government facilities.
A leak can waste thousands of gallons every month, so we want to provide near real-time information to ourselves and to our customers to prevent large bills from going out.
One of the main goals is to identify leaky toilets or water pipes quickly. Itron says its system can flag irregular water flow within minutes.
It can be very broad, and that's why AWWA has the methodology of actually tracking and accounting for every drop through the water balance.
But data alone doesn't fix a leak. Whether this technology becomes real conservation depends on what happens after an alert goes out. And more accurate meters may also mean higher bills for some customers.
There's a lot of households, particularly seniors, who might be not on the internet and not connected, and an online portal will not be useful for them. So needing to maintain that enhanced level of customer service and outreach will be really useful for these meters to be successful.
Tucson Water offers discounts to low-income customers and will provide notifications by phone for those without access to email. In Washington, I'm Will Mahan, Cronkite News. From an eccentric circus act to a classic rodeo, the Great American State Fair celebrates several elements of American culture and tradition. Arizona's exhibit invites visitors to view the state's desert night skies. But alongside state exhibits are signs of Trump's political branding, with the Trump name, Fox News, and Elon Musk's SpaceX all prominently featured. For some visitors, religious and political undertones give parts of the event a more ideological feel.
From what I've seen in some of the displays, it's promoting his political point of view. For example, the energy department does not talk about renewable energy whatsoever. It's promoting coal, which is killing people. That's just one example of how this is a politicized event.
Some blue states chose to opt out, leaving a handful of exhibits empty or managed by private companies.
Congress had a bipartisan committee working on this. It would have been bipartisan. With Trump, nothing's bipartisan.
But others say the missing states are making a real mistake.
Not coming here, I think it looks very bad considering, this is a big event, 250 years. Some states, they did not come here, but I feel like every other booth that I've been to, like the Florida one was really good, Arizona, I feel like there's a lot to see here.
For younger visitors, the fair is less about politics than just having fun, though the nation's birthday is also a time for reflection.
I think the great part is celebrating all the states and bringing everybody together. Realize the great things America's done and what we did in 1776 and what we've became, but realize there's room for error, or room for improvement. There's stuff that can be done, but it's a great place and that's what we should celebrate.
As America celebrates its 250th birthday, the Great American State Fair has become a test of unity, identity, and politics. In Washington, I'm Will Mahan, Cronkite News.
At Nationals Park, Democrats and Republicans took the field for the annual congressional baseball game, a competition far removed from their usual battles.
We always try to find ways to work across the aisle, especially when it's the best interests of Arizonans. So this is just a great time for us to play against our teammates on the other side and just enjoy America's pastime.
As the game gets underway, political rhetoric fades into the background, replaced by loud cheers and the spirit of America's favorite pastime.
We're not here to take the game too seriously. It's an opportunity to show the country that we can still get along in the baseball field, even if we're going to disagree on the House floor.
For a few hours, the partisanship takes a back seat. But once the uniforms come off, these same lawmakers return to a Capitol where the divides are much harder to bridge.
We tried to finish up before this game on the Homeland Security bill. We weren't able to wrap it up. I mean, you got to promote good ideas, stand up for your principles, find common ground where you can. But this game is to compete, and we're going to go get it done.
Lawmakers here talk about teamwork, trust, and relationships. But the real test comes after the game, when the same Democrats and Republicans walk back into a Congress defined by sharp disagreement.
Lawmakers say that events like this matter because they help relationships survive the divisive nature of national politics.
A game like this helps us take the mind off some of the serious stuff for a little bit. Hopefully open some doors, build some bonds to help do the real work of Congress and not just all the infighting that most people see on TV and social media.
The game wasn't even close. 11-2, the sixth straight win for Republicans. For Cronkite News, I'm Will Mahan in Washington. This weekend, over 350,000 people gathered on the National Mall to celebrate America's 250th birthday. It was hot. So hot, the National Park Service kept the mall closed until late afternoon. National Guard handed out water to help people fight the heat. Not all of those bottles made it into a recycling bin. When it was over, there were piles of plastic bottles and trash everywhere.
I find evidence that people had a lot of joy and celebration. But usually what that is, it's a lot of bottles. There's always bottle caps everywhere. A lot of cigarette butts, a lot of plastic bags, and especially after July 4th, sometimes we have just like blast zones occasionally of where fireworks were set off.
The trash wasn't the only concern for environmental groups. 850,000 fireworks lit up the sky for 40 minutes. That record-setting show left clouds of smoke that lingered for hours.
Well, part of the problem is what you can see, and that is the smoke. And smoke is made up of a bunch of harmful particles and gases. The smaller the particles, the more dangerous, and so that's one of the big risks after fireworks. You can breathe those into your lungs and it can cause harm.
Across the Potomac River at Gravelly Point, where lots of people gathered to watch the fireworks, volunteers from Friends of the Mount Vernon Trail and the Potomac Riverkeeper Network helped clear out what crowds left behind.
Things don't happen by magic. So every time you use something, or every time you drop a piece of trash on the ground, or if you choose to leave something on the ground, somebody has to pick that up, or it blows into the Potomac River and into the ocean.
For these volunteers, keeping trash out of the Potomac wasn't separate from the celebration, it was part of it.
So one of the great things about America is that people come together, form groups, pitch in and make things better. That's probably the best way I think that you can celebrate America's 250 and our ideals.
Conservationists hope that next year more people keep the environment in mind before leaving their trash behind. From Washington, I'm Will Mahan, Cronkite News.
At a rest stop with an EV station, a driver might need only 15 minutes to recharge, but building that network of stations takes much longer. The Biden administration devoted $5 billion under a program known as NEVI to expand the availability of EV charging along interstates and other major highways. President Trump put the brakes on that program, pausing new approvals while the Federal Highway Administration revises how it approves such projects. Phoenix Congressman Greg Stanton, a member of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, says Trump is undermining a key program.
They're trying to put hurdles in there so that the program never gets implemented. This administration has declared war on electric vehicles. And, electric vehicles were a huge part of the Inflation Reduction Act. It's the future.
The Trump administration says revisions will make the NEVI program more efficient. But researchers say infrastructure projects need more predictability on funding rules.
It's really important for states and industry to have certainty in their investments when they're making investment decisions.
Researchers at Atlas Public Policy say that uncertainty can affect investment decisions as states and companies decide whether to move forward with projects under changing federal rules.
It's not just paperwork. That uncertainty does bring some real practical impacts to programs.
Arizona still has about $60 million allocated for future EV charging development. The Trump administration says the changes will speed up developing, with revised rules that give states more flexibility on where to build and that eliminate some of the planning requirements in the original program.
The original rollout was too slow. It's one of the reasons why we need a strong permitting reform program here in Congress.
For EV drivers in Arizona, especially those in rural communities, the success of NEVI implementation depends on whether chargers are installed where they are needed and how soon. In Washington, I'm Will Mahan, Cronkite News.